I saw his great square head
Well,
in my bed as I let the
hey,
priest in, and I knew he was annoyed.
good morning.
Dogs were funny things.
Right
Matt was saying that priest ate ravenously, and
there,
he
I
believed his
really need
eyes
to
were
stick a
steadier. Though he started frightfully
front
when I dropped some
facing
firewood,
camera.
he started toward
It's
the
like,
door. Were you
but
in
it's there.
the funeral yesterday, Father? I asked, rubbing my hands. But at first he would not answer. I turned back.
Getting
Was it
there,
the last,
by the
gentle
way.
voice of yesterday? You
Getting
feel
there.
alone, brother? Alone like me?
Not dying
I
every time I
suppose.
use this,
I said
which is what
yes.
it feels like.
I supposed he was one of the only
Oh,
priests
oh,
who
that
lived
felt
alone
really
indeed.
good.
There was no town priest,
Oh,
for his nails
that
were
not so
worn to
much.
the quick. You should bar your door at night, he continued slowly.
Yesterday,
A distasteful duty.
oh,
Those woods are not.
in the
As they
midst of the regular things that happen
There was another morning,
during the
the
day,
second in
it was
24
dinner
hours.
time,
I forgot about his being
and
crazy.
one of us is planning dinner and another's doing dishes. I was the one doing dishes because I said I would and I hadn't finished. I'm so sorry, Neen. Constantly saying sorry for not finishing
Do
them.
more, cried the
Um,
priest. He stood up, a taller man than I had thought him.
I decided to switch around what I was watching on YouTube, because the last couple of weeks it's been pretty intense in one direction because I connected. It feels like connection. I don't know these people. They don't know me. Anyway, decided to take a bit of a break and go back to some of my other things. And one of them was this lady's birth story. The first time I saw her at all was a video. Oh, my face is going to be leaking. This is stupid. It's not stupid. The first time I saw her ever was on a video where she found out she was pregnant. They didn't think they could get pregnant. And that was my very first introduction to this woman. And I'm thinking, wow. And like a lot of things happened for her just after this. Like it was like this huge whirlwind of things. And but then I stopped seeing her on my feed, or I didn't go out of my way because I can only watch so much of the kind of thing that she does. Mostly because I'm old and I get frustrated with trying to make myself look like 20 and 30-year-olds. It's not going to work. These filters are great, except for I'm not using a filter. But anyway, yesterday I came across her birth story and I was bawling. I lost my crap all over the kitchen. And children hug me. My children. Oh. The man was crazier than I liked. That rubbish and stones. The Indian left them. They mean something about his coming back, I suppose. I could not see what he was making such a fuss about. He stood in that silly, arrested attitude. I have my own horror stories. None of my birth stories are good. They're entertaining. Ish, I guess. Mostly because, my children lived. Which is the eldest. I could have stayed home. I wanted to stay home. And I wanted to take the bus when it was time to go because, it was fine. And I knew it was fine, right? It was all good. I didn't think I was going to need any medication. This was fine. I can do this. I've been through worse. And I did one last check at noon.
Bixby. The charcoal
And
the burned out
it
souls
was
were watched
really
for the
intense.
No, I've not
Really,
touched them
really
either.
intense.
Do you
And
read them as you found
I
them?
was like,
Night
so,
over night.
how much longer have we got to go? And I was told a minimum of 5 to 6 hours. And at that point, I couldn't handle the touch of another person. I couldn't handle the feeling of the sheets. I was ready to start being vocal. I was not in a happy place, which is reasonable, birthing a child.
I'd sooner they came in, I said. But the strange priest gave me a look of terror, of agony. I thought he'd wrung his hands.
So, minimum 5 to 6 hours of this
He was over my
agony that I didn't think I could possibly live through.
He went the way we'd come in the morning, the way of the dead hare. I could not help wondering if he would take it
I
with him, if it were still
kind of wish I was one of those people that could forget.
sorry I had not filled his pockets with food. I turned to put away my map of the district.
Anyway,
Must have moved more
so at that
silently
point, that's when I said yes.
than stolen it
And
was.
give me a shot. Whatever you got on that tray,
If I would rather
put it in my backside right now. I'm done.
my sulky dog,
So for the first time in my life, I did hard drugs on purpose, okay, through a hospital while giving birth. But whatever.
I exclaimed, but nothing
It
caused all
threw
this
me
fuss.
for a loop.
Come out.
And
Objecting to the fire, and presently lifted his great head and howled. Snow or no snow, priest or
21 or 22 minutes later,
go out to get rid of
my
these
child was
vapors,
born.
for I had not felt much happier with my
Not
guest than had
5
the
or
dog.
6 hours later.
Came back, we had forgotten him. Or why should I lie? The dog had. I could not forget his lameness, his poor.
And then my child died
I made a prayer in my bed that night.
because of the
It was
doctor.
not a devout practice, but if the mind kneels, I hold the body does not matter. My mind has been kneeling for 20 years. For all that are in agony and have none to pray for them, I beseech thee, O God. And I met the priest, as well as
I remember
others.
laying there
But however it
and
was,
looking at the clock on the
I
wall
mean, I saw no more of him.
and watching the
I never
second
heard
hand
so much as his
move.
name. Christmas passed. In February I went down to the village, and there I heard what put the
And I remember the doctor saying,
The wolves who had followed the red deer were killing them. Not deer in the woods, but children in the
"Don't
settlements.
push."
The village talked of packs of
Her head was out.
heaven.
My baby's head was out.
If I came to bear true
And my mother said
virginity,
that the baby had beautiful black curly hair.
that for the fabled pack, there probably stood 2 or 3 brutes.
And the doctor said, "Don't push." And he walked behind me and behind my mother. I was a child. The way I see things now, I think of myself then as a child. I was 16. So I was there with my mother, and there had been a doctor here. And then he told me not to push, and he walked over there, talked to a nurse, the one and only nurse that was in the room. And I gotta tell you, I remember this feeling. I had no control at that point. None. I didn't push. There was no pushing. There was just coming out. At that point, there's no control. Okay, 21 minutes from 5 to 6 hours to her head is out. Out. And he got up and walked away. Sorry about that. I really got to figure out how to turn off the notification sounds. I love when they upgrade things. So anyway, he moved away. I had no control. And my baby hit the floor. And her cord snapped. And as I'm laying there watching the clock, blood hit my face and the ceiling. That was my baby's cord blood.
My wits came back to me. I thanked him as a man does, who is only a dumb beast to cherish. Why did you not go into prison? He shook his head. The dog is
A lot of things happened
He answered simply.
in the span of a minute, maybe
I had my hands full.
a minute.
And would have felt his ragged clothes, but he flinched away from me. They were afraid, too.
I don't remember
And now I must go.
afterbirth.
Be careful. For all you
The
know, there might
afterbirth,
have been
not
wolves beside you
afterbirth.
as a kid.
Um,
You had no gun. I knew now why he looked neither cold nor like a man who has been waiting.
but I know that they left me alone in that room for almost an hour.
I was full of wonder at the strangeness of him and the absurd gratitude.
Scooped up the baby. My mom followed them,
The stolen map.
the one doctor and the one nurse, and they left me in this room
I'm going a long way. No,
on the table.
take a gun. I have no fear. These wolves are too
And
much.
just as I had to get up.
They told me in the village.
I had to get up, like,
Burying the settlements.
as high as I was. I had to get up. Because
His.
where is everybody?
Yes. He's gone for a face with that expression. Oh, you need not mind me.
From what I understand, she was dead for
Too, Emily. Are they sure
at least 5 minutes.
sure enough to me to kill him? Somehow my tongue faltered over it. So he spoke in his throat. But I doubt if they can. He straightened himself, looked at the sun with a queer face. I must be going. You need not think
First time I picked up my daughter, she
there
cracked.
comes one at nightfall.
Turns out it's not, it wasn't, as far as I know,
Brother,
anything to do with hitting the floor. It has to do with loose ligaments.
out of my sight as quickly as if he had gone into
Like,
the ground.
oh yeah, I can't do that side anymore.
There were green tracks, crisscross tracks running to
Not syndrome, just loose.
remembering the hair.
Things crack a lot. Right from the time
I was sorry.
my children are born, it turns out.
Beat on her face with a stick.
But she cracked, and I freaked out, and I dropped her like this far back into the bassinet. And I called a nurse, and
It was near sunset of a bitter day when I saw the lame priest
I
again.
was freaking out because my baby had already been dropped, and here she was. She cracked. They broke my baby, and they brought me back a broken baby, and they didn't tell me.
Side, there was a dry blood stain around
And
his
that
mouth.
was
Yet even while he had to lean against the doorpost, even on the
when I was given the first of many little blue pills.
man, I was appalled. Come in.
Turned out later they were Demerol, but I had to look it up.
Blood on his tongue. That was it for the nurse.
They kept me drugged
Like a
for the
man who
5 days I was in the hospital with her.
And like a man who's
And during that 5 days, they took
not I.
he,
But there is a poor beast out there,
oh,
not a big one.
the doctor that was supposed to birth her took my mother and I into a room
Blanket to put
away from everybody else and got us to sign paperwork
You can't go. I'll put him out of his misery.
and made us promise that we wouldn't say anything
It might.
because it would be so devastating.
Could. But I must go. I said I would go too. But at that he seemed to lose all control of
For
himself.
that doctor to lose his credibility, that's his livelihood, you know.
Hurry. Give me the things. His eyes. And on my soul, I thought death was glazing them. Or on the sinking sun when I came out again. For the first time he did not edge away from me. I should have known.
So my mother signed the paperwork.
Some animal by the smell of his clothes. My brother that I have treated brotherly, as you me, he said. Whether I come back this night or not, keep your door shut. Do not come out. If I had strength to kneel, I would kneel to you for any calling. And I that ask you who loved you well, I have tried to serve you.
2 years ago, 3 years ago,
No awkwardness.
the daughter
The matter of that
of
map, when you burnt the heathen charm.
of the doctor that was supposed to birth her,
I am a driven man. There will be no
I ran into her in what had been my current doctor's office,
whatever it was.
who weirdly was also
You would treat me as a brother.
at the hospital.
House and sleep.
And I say weirdly because she was very young, very, very young. She's not much older than I am.
He answered passionately.
She showed up in that doctor's office and she's like, I remember you. I know you. I've heard the stories.
Dragging his burden in the snow. As he vanished with his swift, incredible lameness, his voice came back high and
What?
shrill. If I do not come in the morning, come out and give.
I don't remember what I went to the doctor's office for.
He was screaming, for the love I bore you.
And I don't remember the conversation
If I had not stayed
specifics.
I should not have lost
I felt like I was in
Dark,
shock.
I called. I beat every inch of
Nobody has ever acknowledged that anything happened. In her medical records, it says normal birth.
he might have a camp somewhere.
They changed her records.
It said pretty plainly he did not want me. I went home, angry, baffled. It was a freezing night. The very moon looked fierce with cold. The shack snapped
Sorry.
frost as I sat down to the supper. My good night. More soul outside. And as I sat, I heard a sound. Soft.
So yeah, I was a little bit in shock. Because you see me? I'm not crazy. I may be crazy, but I'm not making it up. You think, right? She's inside right now, sleeping, which is good. I don't think they could handle seeing me like this still the next day. I tried to explain that lovely lady's birth story brought everything. And it's like it's rushing through my brain and it hasn't stopped. I think I was dreaming about all of it. All of it. Oh my god. Okay. So so there I am, baby having a baby. And it is traumatizing. But I'm not allowed to be traumatized because it didn't happen. Life wasn't great before then. It didn't get much better. 3 months later, myself, my brand new miracle baby, and my fiance, excuse me, we were run over by a car. And I woke up on the road. And the man had come back. He said he was sorry. And then he left. And I started screaming for my baby. Where's my baby? I honestly didn't think about Alan at first. It was just my baby. And a lady down the road heard me, but she thought I was talking about a dog or something, because I didn't name my baby or something. I wasn't calling out I don't know. I don't remember exactly that part. Anyway, so my miracle baby, in my opinion, not on record, was nowhere to be seen. She had been in an old pram, you know, squeaky monstrosities. Now they're like retro, thousands of dollars. Anyway, maybe not that much. She wasn't making any noise, and I couldn't see her, but she was in a driveway. In the pram, there was no bottom. It was just squished. And Alan was up the road and dead. And then a couple of days later, my mother put me and my baby on an airplane to go to Ontario. There was no closure, there was no funeral, there was none of that. So life didn't get any easier after the miracle baby, and again the miracle baby, right? She came out and she had a scratch here and a scratch here. That's it. That's it. My miracle baby's sleeping still.
raw and
Oh,
sexual. Andrew
what did
walked
I?
in at my door.
It's right there.
We come back. He announced, "All good here now. Lane was dead. Shooting
Ooh.
by the duck. Silver bullet. Don't indulge how gruesome. He was miracle. Legal delusions of where nobody cares.
So I come back, and
Never
there's
said a word about the new grave.
definitely more to the story, but
And, the lame priest.
that's a different thing. It's not bird stories. But I felt like I needed to get out the 3 months later. Oh my goodness. So, Miracle Baby. And I come back from Ontario, and life continues on. Things happen. I go live with a family in a small town down the road, and super sweet. The super sweet people, super religious people. And I had to leave there when they tried to tell me that I was possessed. Anyway, as far as I can tell, still not possessed. But I probably should have stayed there and figured out a way to work around that. Moving back to town and living on my own left me in a very vulnerable position. And that position led to my second child. And because of that, my pregnancy with her I only gained 18 pounds. And when she was born, even though she was to the date on time, they asked me if she was premature. And that's my fault. That's on me. And I know that. Now, this birth, the second birth, not as traumatizing. Not the way the first one was. And the doctor I had at the time, he has passed on now. He's, from what I understand, as a father, not so great. But as my doctor who would listen to me, and he didn't drop the end of the table, he didn't leave, he just sat there, he kept talking to me, he kept reassuring me that he would not do what the last doctor did. And it didn't take very long at all. Did I say 21 minutes hard labor the first one? Second, might have been an hour, maybe hard labor. And she came out tiny, and there's my mother again, telling me to hurry up because my grandmother's downstairs in the car waiting to go to bingo. She's waited long enough. Come on. Snap to her. Let's get her done. I gotta go. So, there was that. I had a baby. There was already there's some other life horror things leading up to this. And, definitely some things after, but again, different story, different video. Ooh. So you haven't done these. It's cathartic. to get it out there, to get this out there. And at the same time, there's so much around every event. Oh. So the birth was easy. The doctor listened. Everybody's healthy, right? She's tiny but healthy, feisty. Woo! Sorry, I don't know where that was. Whatever. And they send me home, and spooky stuff kind of works into this next little part. My first child at that point was already, she could see something. I know that she saw something. She saw something that we did not see. The blue lady. And so we wanted to find out what it was. And we figured, our kids were in bed. It's the last time I touched a Ouija board. Gotta tell you. So it said, be prepared. One of you is going to the hospital, or one of you is hurt. One of you is hurt. Something like that. And we're all laughing, right? It's funny, whatever. And I go in and I go to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there, and I can hear it's like a tap, and I realize it's me. It's me. I am a freaking tap, right? And it's not urine. Nope. So I start yelling to get people's attention, and I try to make it to bed so that I can put my feet up, right? Elevation. I don't know what I was thinking, but that was my thought. And so my friend had to go down to the corner to use a telephone when they still had telephones on corners, to call an ambulance. And yeah, I had to go in and have an ablation done. They don't know why it happened, but it did. And I could have died. Coke cans, that's what I equated the amount to. It was a fair number of Coke cans worth of blood I lost. And that was the end of that, right? It's all good. It's fine. Then we come to number 3. And I'll get back to you in just one moment, because somebody is now out here. Okay. So, number 3. Right, that end. Huh. Number 3. I was living in Alberta with 2 children, pregnant for my 3rd, and to get to the hospital where I was going to birth her, when the spouse was in town, was great because there was a car. When he wasn't, gross. When he wasn't, I had to get on the bus. And it meant taking 2 buses and a bit of a walk to get to the hospital. Doesn't that sound great? Yeah. So, anyway, I'm in labor. My first one, 21 minutes hard labor. Second one, maybe an hour. Third one, let's go to the hospital. It's time. I am ginormous. I'm a freaking house. Like, I was giant. No, it wasn't ready. Baby was not ready, so they sent me home. And I labored at home looking after 2 children and a demanding spouse for 27 hours. Well, I guess it wasn't quite that long. 24, 25 hours at home, alone. And I'm done. And we go back to the hospital. And I told them if they didn't break my water, that I was going to go home, break my water, and then sue their fucking asses. Because I was done. They broke my water. And less than an hour, I had a baby. That baby was born quiet. She was so quiet. Eyes wide open. Wide open. She has big eyes. Big, big eyes. Do you want your baby? No. No. No, I do not. And I mean, like, I wanted her. My baby. But at that moment in time, no. No. Not at all. I was mad at everybody. Mad at everybody. For many reasons. So, not really a horror story. But after 21 minutes and an hour, then 27 hours. And buses and kids and spouse and... So, then we're on to number 4. Yes, number 4. Number 4. I had already made up my mind I wasn't going to have any more children. There's so much more to the story, right? Like the backstory to things that I was saying earlier. Anyway, I guess, just jump right on in. I wasn't going to have any more babies. My husband was in jail for something I'll talk about in another video. And he set me up with somebody. Well, he didn't set me up, but he gave his permission for me to be entertained by somebody that actually worked for us when we had a security company. Big backstory. Excuse me. And I told that person at the time, I said, I can't do this. I cannot. This is hard enough. I am like, I'm a joke. I'm a walking joke. Mom of all my children have different bio dads for varying reasons. And the last one, I told him I'm so sorry. I told him I could not keep the baby unless he was going to take on all the babies, because I couldn't be that person anymore. My children deserve to have some stability. And I could not bring a fourth when I didn't have an education, let alone a way to support them. I knew that we were hooped already, and I could not do it to another. That man stepped up, at least with me. Took him a while to come around to, like telling his parents. That was funny. That's a whole other story too. But that man is the one that the girls call Dad. To this day. No matter all the other things that have happened, he is still Daddy. Good man. Messed up. Make bad choices. But we all make bad choices. I was probably one of your first bad choices. Sorry, dude. So sorry. I'm sorry a lot. Anyway, so there I am, having a fourth doctor. And I already, had talked to him. I'm like, I don't want any medication. I want nothing. We're going to do this, whether it's 21 minutes or 27 hours. But I'm also not leaving the hospital till the baby's born because, trauma. Well, holy cannoli, I gotta tell you, at the end of that one, turns out my body was hooped. It was done. It was done having babies, and it wanted to kill me. She started coming out, and he pushed her back because the cord was wrapped around her neck, and pushed her back. Okay? We fixed that problem, and I do believe the sequence of events was he fixed that, took the cord off, she popped out, because, they pop out, and then he's jabbing me full of needles. Like 3, 4, 5, I don't know. But pop, 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 pop. Up, like, my backside, back of my legs, somewhere in that. And I was mad. What the actual F are you doing? That's not in the agreement. Turns out my insides were coming out. Prolapsed uterus. Prolapsing. It didn't actually come out, thankfully. Everything was put back in order. So not extraordinarily long. It was a couple hours. It wasn't. I actually wanted to do that one on my own. I didn't want their dad in my room with me, but he was in the hall crying. So the nurses came in and guilted me out, and he had to come in. Oh, anyway. That was the day that my then current doctor, got to see my mother in action. Anyway. It was an experience. Every single one an experience. And a little bit of trauma for each one. Christy, thank you for your honesty in your video. You've loaned me some of your bravery,
And now things began
and
developing rapidly.
also reminded me that I need
Brother
to
Bernard woke up a few nights later
get this out there,
to find the mysterious monk standing by his side.
because that's the point to my channel, is about
He had
chronicling
promised
the
to wait,
things that have happened.
kept looking back as if
Not
expecting
necessarily
him to
for
leave.
me.
The boy got
I
up
don't,
and went with him.
though, anyway, I don't expect to be around to have to worry about having dementia or anything like that.
That he did not feel completely peaceful.
But maybe, just maybe, someday,
The
my
monk
children might want to know.
was slowly feet up.
Maybe my grandchildren might want to know my side of things.
He did not appear to be carrying
And this is part of it.
and the usual light on the open roof was not there. Moonlight was streaming from the windows.
The big takeaway from this is,
They reached the end hall. And then the
doesn't
monk
matter what their standing in society is. Don't back down.
to his surprise,
Do not.
Brother Bernard saw distinctly
It doesn't matter if
shining on the place.
your parents or
He turned to his
teachers or
meaning to ask him what had been,
whatever it is.
but he was alone. The monk had vanished completely.
Try to take
He was not much taken aback
an
by
experience from
this. He
you.
was getting used to queer things happening.
If you believe you need representation, go find it. I'm not a fan of lawyers, but at the same time, that person who was in the room that was supposed to be helping me birth my first child never should have been allowed around other women. And instead, he's gotten accolades for what he's done in the field. And on her birth record, it says normal birth. It wasn't. What if, and I don't know how this works, like they said that she lost her thyroid to a cold. But what if something about the birth is what started that? What if? And other things. But those, don't back down. Doesn't matter what my social standing or your social standing is. That doesn't make us non-entities. Use your voice. And I don't mean yelling and screaming. It's not constructive. Use it constructively. But don't back down. If you're in the right, don't back down. Things could have been different. Really different. Anyway, I don't know. It's almost an hour. There's a good chance my phone's going to split this up and it won't all be there anyway. So that's part of it. There's more. I know there's more, and I know I have more to say. There's always more for me to say. But the sun is definitely up. The birds are definitely screaming at me. Not right outside the door anymore, thankfully. And I'm going to go for now because it's morning. Oh, and the story stream is off. Sun is awake. The sun is up, so I must be up. Wow, every time. And I've got some animals to feed. And another day. It's another day. Harmony, happiness, and health. And constructive voices, people. From my house to yours. Okay? Bye for now.